Man, Star Wars is in full swing right now. I mean, this season just wrapped up a few days ago. Of course, we're in the middle of The Mandalorian Season 3. We got Jedi Survivor coming out at the end of this month. And not long after that, we got Vision Season 2. I'm enjoying this. So right now, we're going to talk about some Bad Batch. I'm going to give you a spoiler warning. I will be talking about what happens in this season, including in the finale. So if you have not watched all that yet, I suggest you turn away. Unless you don't care, in which case, please stick around. I appreciate it. All right, let's talk some more Star Wars. Star Wars The Bad Batch, Season 2. Alright, so just to refresh your memory, Star Wars The Bad Batch is a spin-off from the Clone Wars animation. It's a series exclusive to Disney+. This second season picks up some time after the end of Season 1. And Clone Force 99, aka The Bad Batch, Hunter, Echo, Wrecker, Tech, Omega, they're still off doing their own missions, they're free from the Empire. And in this season in particular, they're learning exactly what freedom means to them. In a galaxy that is ruled by the iron fist of an empire, can these war veterans ever really be free?
We're already free.
Clearly, you're not paying attention to what's happening out there.
And here we go with our new season. And I gotta be honest, I thought this season was just alright. I didn't hate it by any means, but I didn't exactly love it either. Yeah, I had some glaring issues this time around. I mean, the season starts off alright. The crew is doing another mission for Sid, and of course it goes really sideways. It pretty much ends with them not succeeding in getting the treasure and barely escaping with their own lives. And actually that happens a couple of times this season, where they end up having to save each other rather than complete their objective. That I did like. Cause yeah, not every mission is gonna be a breeze in this galaxy. Sometimes you'll just straight up fail. I like that this season showcased that. That's realistic. So that's the beginning of this season. It's the first 2 episodes because they were released in the same week. It was a 2-parter pretty much. Then the 3rd episode showed us what Crosshair's up to. We remember Crosshair is the member of the Bad Batch that defected to the Empire. But after the finale of Season 1, we do see that he is starting to regret that decision. I actually really like Crosshair's arc this season, even though he has no interaction with the rest of the crew at all. Seriously, in this entire season, our main Bad Batch never has any interaction with Crosshair, ever. That's one of the things where I was like, what? Come on. But that being said, I did still like what Crosshair had to go through here, with what little screen time he had, relatively speaking. Like, out of the 16 episodes of this season, he was in, 5 at most? We do learn, though, that he falsified the report of the Bad Batch's demise to Admiral Rampart. After the destruction of Kamino in the Season 1 finale, Omega did him a solid by saving his life, so he falsified that report. Alright, that's cool, I guess they're even. More on him later. Because after that episode, oh my god, was there ever so much filler. The next 3 episodes, nothing happens. It's just the Bad Batch going on their different missions, doing different stuff. And I was sitting there watching them like, yeah, alright, Bad Batch, do your thing. I mean, sure, it was nice to see Gunji again for 1 episode. He was in the Clone Wars. Always cool to see a Wookiee with a lightsaber. But I mean, come on. At a point, all this filler was just letting me down to the point of boredom. And I've heard the argument, yeah, but it's character development for all our main characters. I get that, and yeah, sure, there is plenty of character development. But honestly, I don't feel like that's enough. I mean, you can have character growth all the livelong day. You can make your characters the most fleshed out characters ever. But we still need story escalation, you know? We need to know that we are driving towards a goal, a destination. At this point in the season, it just felt really aimless. I had no idea what endgame we were going towards. As it stood, it was just the Bad Batch doing stuff for 20 minutes at a time. It was starting to lose me. Eventually, we got to the halfway point, the mid-season episodes. And what happens here is pretty cool. You know, since the Empire is making the switch from clone troopers to stormtroopers, all the clones are like, well, what becomes of us now? There's a whole conspiracy about what really happened on Kamino because the Empire's trying to cover that up. They're like, yeah, Kamino was destroyed in some natural disaster. And some clones out there are like, no, that's not what happened. The Empire and Admiral Rampart, they're responsible for this. Rex comes back into the fold. I feel like we're gonna get him in every season of this show. I mean, he is a clone, so it would make sense. I love the scene, though, where after the evidence is shown, everyone in the Senate sees it. They see the footage of the Empire's attack on Kamino. And I was like, oh man, alright, the Empire's busted. Then the Emperor shows up in person, and I was like, oh crap, alright, it's about to go down. And when he started talking, I was like, that is Ian McDiarmid. Oh my god, that's awesome, they got him to voice the character again. And I love what he does here, he twists the truth to the Empire's advantage. He's like, yeah, alright, Rampart, that was a dick move of you, so you're arrested. But also, his clones are to blame, so we as an Empire are gonna phase out clones and introduce stormtroopers.
It is time for a new era.
I was like, wow. That dude had such a way with words. That was pretty genius of him, I'm not gonna lie. Just really smart. And so at the end of those episodes, Echo ends up leaving the Bad Batch because he wants to fight for the clones' rights. The rest of the crew doesn't really want to do that. They want to do their own thing. So Echo ends up leaving. So, alright. After that, though, for the next, 2 episodes, we have more filler, and it was at this point it really started getting to me. I was like, oh my god, this whole thing with Benny, I do not care about in the least. No, at that point, I was done. So I honestly did stop watching the show at that point. Until it wrapped up, and then I watched the rest. I don't know, man, I was just getting sick and tired of all the useless filler. Season 1 did not have as much filler, or at least it didn't have as many episodes that felt like filler as Season 2 does. At least in my opinion. I will say, at least in that whole Ipsium arc, that Tech was the MVP there. In fact, I'll say Tech was the MVP of this entire season. He had arguably the most character development here. I mean, in that racing episode, which I thought was at least fun filler. Plus that droid was hilarious. Voiced by Sonic, awesome. And then his little moment with Omega in the Ipsium arc, I thought that was alright. And of course I loved seeing his relationship with Fee, Wanda Sykes' character. I was rooting for that, man. You know, him being the Donatello of the group, he doesn't really know how to process emotions. Fee is giving him all the green lights in the world. I just wanted to tell Tech, my brother in Christ, she has the hots for you. Go for it. Ah, well. Then we have another Crosshair episode, where he meets that one clone Mayday, and it finally gets into his head, yeah, the Empire, they see clones as straight up expendable. They have that one officer who's a complete douchebag, and Crosshair does end up killing him. I was like, oh, good for you, dude, because he was a sleemo. Yeah, now are you finally starting to see the error of your ways, Crosshair? It is too bad that he does end up getting detained by the Empire anyway. But that is why I liked his arc so much, because he's starting to see the error of his ways. Not a complete redemption yet, they're taking their time with that, that's good. Then we get to the 2-part finale. Final spoiler warning, here we go. So the Bad Batch gets word of where Crosshair is being held because he did send them that message, and so they go to Tantus to rescue him. We got a couple of cool cameos in this finale. I mean, not just Tarkin, who I wouldn't call a cameo at this point. He's been in a few episodes. But in that meeting with him is Orson Krennic, who we remember from Rogue One, and his one line that he has in this episode, he is voiced by Ben Mendelsohn here. That was awesome, I love seeing that continuity. And Tarkin's like, give us an update about Project Stardust. I was like, that's Rogue One stuff, cool. Then Saw Gerrera shows up, which is really funny, because he was in the first episode of the first season, and now he's in the finale of the second season. I don't know, I like that. And I've always liked him as a character because he's easy to hate. He's a rebel extremist, you know, he always takes things too far. In this case, ultimately causing what happens to Tech. Yeah, Tech, our MVP, he ends up sacrificing himself to save the crew. Love how he goes out, though. He's like, when have we ever followed orders? Bam! He cuts the cable and he drops. And we're all like, oh no, Tech, he's dead. However, I will bring up the rule here. We didn't actually see him die. We only saw him drop. So we don't know for sure that Tech is actually dead. I will say Tech could still be alive somehow. But for all we know at this point, Tech is dead. And it's sad and it sucks and Omega's crying. I did feel that, I'm not gonna lie, because Tech, I'm telling you, he's the MVP of this entire season. That character development he got, it paid off. And man, I guess it's gonna break Fee's heart when she finds out. And so the season ends, the Empire gets away with capturing Omega, and so now I guess it's Hunter, Echo, and Wrecker. That's it. They're like, we're gonna go rescue her. Omega is brought to Tantus, where Crosshair is, and the big reveal at the end is that one Dr. Emery Carr, yeah, she's actually another clone as well. So another female clone who's a bit older looking anyway than Omega. So they're actually sisters. I was like, wow, okay. That's a pretty cool reveal. And certainly an interesting way to end the season. Not bad, I don't mind it. It just is gonna have to take me some getting used to, admittedly. So in the end, Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 2, I just thought was okay. All that filler really did bring it down for me, man. I mean, I like the characters fine enough. But if they make another season, my advice would be to focus the story up a little more. Maybe if the story isn't going to take as many episodes to tell as 16, then don't make 16 episodes. Make like 10 or something. Make as many as necessary. I don't think you need to stretch it out with filler, because that tends to bog a story down. But the cool stuff that happened in this season was pretty cool. Gotta give credit where it's due. And I guess we'll see what happens in the future. So, Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 2. Have you watched it all the way through? Have you watched any of it at all? What are your thoughts on it? I actually had a friend tell me that she liked this season more than Season 1, so all opinions are valid here. So whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Now if you'll excuse me, we got a new trailer for Secret Invasion dropping tonight. Oh my god, finally, can't wait. Peace.